And welcome, everybody, to Lyndhurst's Community News. Today is November 1st, 2023. I can't believe it. It's already November. And we also hit another milestone today. Today is our 30th episode since we had first begun back in, I believe it was late March. And, time flies. I can't believe it's November. I hope all the kids had a wonderful Halloween. Certainly, the weather was beautiful. And there was so much going on over the weekend, from the parade and the activities in the park, as well as some of the haunted houses taking place in the area. And yesterday, of course, was the day to trick-or-treat. Schools had their trunk-or-treat as well. And hopefully the kids and the adults, too, because I think sometimes the adults like it even more than the kids. And remember to send us an email with any news about your church, your organization, your club, your school, your team, as well as any birthdays or anniversaries of note. Send it to lyndhurstcommunitynews@gmail.com, and that email is listed in the description box below. Now, this was a very slow news week. I think because so much was going on with the holiday weekend, that there wasn't much to report on this coming week. So I will go through some of the news that I have. But more important is please stay tuned to the end, because I want to talk about and explain to you all about a topic which I believe is very important to all of us. And that topic is how are applications made regarding the construction of new apartments and condominiums, and how the New Jersey state laws for affordable housing have a great deal to do with this. Now, this has been a lot of chatter going on because there's various tracts of property out there, and people know that things are coming, and I'll report on some applications or some that haven't even come yet. But I also think that people need to have a better understanding of how all of this works. It's vital to understand that, especially about how things impact your community, our community. So stay tuned to the end. Now, here is this week's news brief, as I said. The Special Angels versus the Lyndhurst High School football team, which was supposed to be held this past Sunday, but was postponed due to the rain, has been rescheduled to next Thursday, November 9th. The game begins at 6:30. The gates open at 6. The concession stand will be open as well. You can help support the Boosters. But the event is free. There's no charge for the event. Of course, the location is at the Lyndhurst High School football field. And the Lyndhurst Elks Lodge is having comedy night on Friday, November 17th. The doors open at 6 p.m. The host of the evening will be Lyndhurst's own comedian, Gina D., featuring Paul Goldenberg, and the headliner is Chip Ambrogio, I believe, or Ambrogio. Not sure how to pronounce that. Either way, he is the headliner. Now, the Elks Lodge is located at 251 Park Avenue here in town. If you want tickets, you could either Venmo at Jessica Elizabeth-H, put Comedy Night in the subject line. I'll leave this in the description box. Or, if you want to make it easier, call Claire at 201-456-9260. Now, here are just some reminders. This Saturday, November 4th, so that's just a few days from now, depending upon when you're listening to this, the Knights of Columbus is having their chicken dinner. That's the local Lyndhurst Sacred Heart Knights of Columbus Council 2396. A great night for your family and friends, and they will be supporting, with the proceeds, will be supporting our veterans. The sit-down dinner is at 3 p.m., However, you can take dinner out to go. That will be from 4:30 to 6 p.m. The cost is $18 per dinner. Each dinner will contain a half of rotisserie chicken, which will be a 1 to 1.5 pound, which is quite large, potatoes, vegetables, salad, dessert, and a chance at a basket of joy. So the deadline is November 1st. That's today. So if you're listening after today, you're not going to be able to do it. It will be held at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Parish Center, which is at 146 Copeland Avenue, right here in Lyndhurst. And some local sports, not much to report, but some good things to report. Boys soccer team beat Harrison the other day 2-1 to advance to the sectional semifinal. So congratulations to the team and the coaches. And today the team travels to Bernards for the state sectional semifinal game at 2 p.m. And the girls' volleyball team finished their regular season with dominant performance over North Arlington in Senior Day. The states began last Friday at home versus Dwight Morrow. And finally, to wrap it up, the Golden Bears ended their season last Friday against Newton in what was actually an amazing comeback for the Bears in the fourth quarter. They scored 4 touchdowns, but unfortunately lost to Newton 30-33. Now, all in all, this was a season to be proud of for the Bears, which began with 4 straight wins for them. They faced some hard-fought battles, but as always, they gave it their best. And the most important thing is that the Golden Bears always make us proud, on the field and also off the field. For while we may not always win on the field, the greater win is when we win at being the best that we can be. And these young gentlemen are so passionate and gave so much of themselves. We are all proud of them, and I know I am. So my congratulations to Coach Tuero and the assistant coaches and all the Bears. I plan on catching up with them soon for some of their thoughts on the overall season. And so onward and upward. And by the way, I was able to watch the away games on my TV while at home, courtesy of Joe Merg, who has been faithfully streaming the games for several years now. Not only does he stream them, he gives excellent commentary because he knows the game and he knows the players. So thank you, Joe Merg, and he streams it right from his Facebook account. You don't have to be connected with him on Facebook. He makes it public. I think it gets shared on Lyndhurst Varsity Football's page as well. And then you can actually take it from your smart TV, your smartphone, and you could put it on your smart TV and watch it on the big screen, which is what I did. So next year, if you want to watch the Bears play but cannot make it to the games, you could watch from your home. And as I said, it's a short news week, so that's the end of that. Now, I'm going to talk about what I said I was going to talk about. I thought this would be a good opportunity to discuss a topic which is very important, but also one about which most people are unaware. And that is zoning and the construction of new housing and or apartments within the township. Now, as some of you who listen regularly know, I had reported on some rumors circulating on Facebook regarding several pieces of property in town and what was proposed to be built. One of those was the old TD Bank property on New York Avenue. And back in September, I had reported that there had been no applications made to our building department as of that time, nor had there been any discussion from any builders regarding the property. Generally, what happens is before a builder makes an application, they want to get an idea for what the township is looking for. Most of them want to obviously work with the township, so they'll come in and they'll have a conversation. So nothing has taken place, not even a conversation regarding the TD Bank property. So what was going on there when people saw the building being removed is because they had to remove contaminated soil underneath. So they removed all of that soil, and I believe that there's litigation involved with the current owners versus the bank itself. So we'll see how that all fleshes out, but so far, nothing taking place there. In fact, last week, I had seen posts on Facebook saying that a Wawa was coming to that property, but I could report that there is no truth to that at all. And the next big property is, of course, the infamous Lyndhurst Diner, which recently sold for $2.9 million. Now, this property is far larger than most realize, and that is because the property consists of both the old Churchill's carpeting store to the left of the diner, as well as the home directly behind it on Kingsland Avenue. Collectively, they total approximately 1 acre. Now, I can report that as of yesterday, absolutely no applications have been made, nor has the new owner approached the construction department with any ideas of a project. So we're going to have to wait and see. There will definitely be something going there. Nobody's going to buy a property for $2.9 million, as they say, to build a park. So something will be coming, and we will report on that when it happens. Now, this is a very extensive subject, and I don't want to gloss over too many things because I believe it's very important that the residents have an understanding of land use and zoning, at least the Cliff's Notes version, let's put it that way. As a matter of fact, I am planning to do a special episode, which I hope to have out this weekend. Not sure yet. I've been quite busy, And this takes a great deal of time to put together, especially when you want to make sure that the important points are being presented. I'm going to do a special episode on affordable housing under the laws of the state of New Jersey, because this is a very important subject to understand, because then you will also understand how communities can and cannot do certain things. Now, the first thing I want to explain is that anyone can make an application for anything. And what I mean by this is that, let's say I make an application, which I can do. Tomorrow, I can go in to the construction department. I can pay the fee and make an application to build a high-rise on my property. There's nothing stopping me from making an application. This is what happens all the time. I make the application, I pay the fee, and that's all I need to do up front, of course. Anyone making an application then must, at their own expense, notify all property owners within 200 feet of the property on which the application is being made. This must be done by certified mail, informing them of the application. Residents, either from within the 200-foot zone or actually anywhere in the community, anybody can speak on any application, not just those who are within 200 feet. They have the right to see all the documents of the application, all architectural plans, as well as voice their objection to or support for an application at the scheduled planning board or zoning board meeting. Now, that application is then heard by either the planning board or the zoning board of adjustment, depending upon the type of application. If I'm seeking to build something new on a piece of property, I would apply to the planning board for a site plan approval. Let's say if I want to add on a room to my house, but I may lack a certain amount of square footage on my property, I would need a variance, and I would apply to the zoning board of adjustment in that case. So again, anyone can make an application for anything. That does not mean that they will receive approval to build what they want. That decision is left to the boards, and the zoning ordinances are applied in each case. Now, let's face it. Builders are in business to make money. So when they purchase a piece of property, they will obviously seek to maximize their profits. This is just business 101, folks. This is where our zoning ordinances come into play and why we have the town boards. Now, let me first explain who these boards are. Firstly, they are composed of Lyndhurst residents, most of whom are professionals, whether you have architects, engineers, and even business owners, and some retired builders. They serve without pay, and they are appointed to either a 3 or a 4-year term by the mayor with the approval of the Board of Commissioners. Now, I know most of these people who serve on these boards, and I can attest to their integrity and their love for the community. After all, they live here too. Now, with an understanding of the two boards and who sits on them, I want to discuss some recent applications that were either denied or were eventually passed with a smaller, scaled-down project. But also, I want to discuss the potential serious problems a township can face with regard to denying a builder a right to build. A builder can appeal the application to the county, and if the county finds that the township unfairly denied an application, they can overturn the township's denial, allowing the builder to, in some cases, build something even larger and completely bypass our local zoning laws. Our hands would be tied, and there'd be nothing the township can do. And I'll explain that in a little more detail when I discuss a case in which this very well may happen. And again, this is something that people should be aware of. Now, I'm going to start with a recent application, which was to build a 17-unit, 3-story apartment building on New York Avenue. Now, this property originally contained 2 old structures which were torn down. This property sits directly across the street from the ShopRite property. Now, it's important to note that the zone on that side of the street is a 2-family zone, meaning that the most anyone can build, unless the township board grants a builder a variance, is a 1 or 2 family house. So the developers made an application for, as I said, a 17-unit, 3-story apartment building. And, as is required by law, All property owners within 200 feet of this property were notified. And, understandably, the residents all came to the meeting to express their opposition to the application. One of the residents made an excellent point. He said that he bought a home in a two-family zone. He didn't expect to have to walk outside and have a 3-story multi-unit apartment building standing over him. So the planning board obviously denied the application on the grounds that it is located in the two-family zone. They saw no reason to grant any type of use variance. If the board did, however, approve this application, they would have had to award a use variance. However, the township does not want to set a precedent of awarding a use variance in residential zones, as then we'd have apartment buildings popping up all over the place, all over town, in neighborhoods, and that's something that we definitely do not want. That's something neither the town nor the residents want, of course. Now, as of this date, no appeal has been filed with the county, nor has that builder come back with an alternate plan. Usually if they're declined or denied, they'll come back with a smaller, scaled-down plan. But in essence, and by the way, this is only my opinion, I'm only speaking for myself, the most the builder can do under the current zoning on that parcel is to build 2 new two-family zones, as the zone permits. Now, regarding an appeal to the county, this is a situation in which the county would more than likely 100% uphold the planning board's denial because it was in blatant noncompliance with the current zoning. But now, I want to move on to an application that is being appealed. The property on Valley Brook Avenue, on which sits the now closed Vivo's restaurant. Now, this is the property which is directly next to and east of the Bogle Building. Now, remember, the Bogle Building is the large apartment building that stands at the corner of Valley Brook and Stuyvesant Avenues. It was originally built by Horace Bogle back in the late 20s. Now, originally, the new owner of the Vivo property, that is adjacent to the Bogle Building, made an application to build a 25-unit apartment building. Now, that application was denied by the planning board. The developer then bought the house that is adjacent to the property on Valley Brook. That's that house that sits right there on the corner. They then applied again, and this time shrinking it they gave more property, but they applied for 20 units, figuring that now with more property and that the project itself was smaller, they figured they maybe had a chance of having it pass. The planning board once again denied the application. Now, of course, residents and area neighbors came out in droves to speak against this, and it's understandable. But I just want to explain here how this can become very tedious for the township once the township loses control. And now here's the problem. And this problem, by the way, is not only faced by Lyndhurst, but by nearly all communities in the state of New Jersey. You see, we have affordable housing laws in the state to which the town must abide. Every community, based upon size, population, landmass, etc., have an affordable housing requirement by law. This is something over which Lyndhurst has no control. We must have a specific number of affordable housing units. Now, before I continue, I'm going to do an entire separate special episode, like I said, probably later in the week, not sure yet. I'm going to explain the history of the New Jersey affordable housing laws and explain how they apply and how we got to where we're at today and how it impacts towns like Lyndhurst. But for now, let me just say that on appeal for the Vivo property application, a judge will most likely find in favor of the applicant. And this is because Lyndhurst is under its legal requirement for affordable housing units. Lyndhurst should technically, according to the formulas that the state provides, have an estimated 1,000 affordable housing units under state law. It currently has approximately 300 units. Now, because of this, judges in similar cases, in similar situations, have been ruling in favor of developers under what is called builder's remedy. And what makes this very serious is that if a builder or developer is awarded builder's remedy, they can completely bypass the local zoning laws. This means that the builder could pretty much build whatever they want to a degree, but certainly far larger than what was originally denied by the Lyndhurst Planning Board. If that were to happen, and it is far more likely that it will, that could mean the project may very well be larger than the original application, and there is not a darn thing Lyndhurst can do to stop it. Nothing. And this is the most important thing I want people to understand. When these applications are made, and I know residents and neighbors come, and they're all against it, and I completely understand, and I would agree with them. However, if a builder were to appeal, and in specific situations like this, win the appeal, then who loses? The township loses. We will lose all control over the project, and the builder will pretty much be able to build pretty much whatever they want within specific specifications, but they can certainly come back with a bigger application than the original one because they can bypass our zoning laws. So from what I'm told, it could take a year or two before this case is heard, but the chances are that the developer will win, and Lyndhurst is going to wind up with a large apartment building its residents do not want. You see, the state's affordable housing laws are what drive the necessity to allow for a certain amount of new apartments we see being built, not only in Lyndhurst, but also in all communities very much like Lyndhurst. We also see it in Rutherford as well. No community is exempt. I wanted to focus upon this today because it is imperative that residents have some form of understanding of what guides new construction, what the township can do, and even more, what it cannot do. I know that the overwhelming majority of residents, myself included, do not want any more units being built. More units equal more traffic, possibly more students in the schools. Although I will say this, another good thing to point out is that Lyndhurst has been excellent at only approving mostly studio and one-bedroom apartments, with very few two-bedroom apartments. Again, remember, we walk a fine line. We don't want them to appeal, the builders, to the county and then have us get stuck with a project we absolutely don't want. So it's not, we can't blanketly deny these developers, so we work with them. You know, they'll come in, they want to do three-bedroom apartments, two-bedroom apartments. And we realize that that's going to bring possibly more children into the school district. That's something that costs more. It's something that begins to overcrowd our schools. And, of course, we then, the town, are responsible for all of that. So I realize that when we see new apartments or condos being built, people have a tendency to think that the town is overdeveloping. But it's just the opposite. The town has been, for many years now, it had begun when I was serving on the Board of Commissioners, we began really changing much of the zoning and doing our very best to manage the legally mandated number of affordable units, which, should a developer be denied and win on appeal, would mean that we lose any and all power to restrict the developer at all. I know that sounds insanely unfair, and I believe it is. However, it is the law. So I will release a special episode. No promises on when that will be, but if you're subscribed, you will get the notification when that comes out, where I will explain the affordable housing laws, their history, and how it impacts the township. Now, in closing, one other project that is looming on the horizon is the old Lincoln School property on the corner of Valleybrook Avenue and Ridge Road. The good thing is that the township owns this property. And as many of you may know, in order to build the new middle school, the Board of Education signed over the deed to Lincoln School to the township in exchange for the township building of the new school. So the township took on the burden of paying for it. At the end of the day, whether the school board pays for it, whether the township pays for it, it's still going to be on your tax bill. So it really doesn't matter. It's one pocket or the other. It's still the same bill. You know, your tax bill is a combination of your township, your school, which the school portion is the largest portion, by the way, of your tax bill, as well as the county portion. Now, the idea of the development of Lincoln School originally was, and still is, that the township has never received any tax dollars because it was a school. Schools don't pay taxes. They're tax exempt, obviously. Now that property could be developed and bring the township an estimated, I believe at that time, I don't know what the estimates are now, I'm not there, but at that time we were estimating approximately $250,000 in new annual tax revenue. The idea also is supported by making that entire area a redevelopment zone so that you would incentivize the surrounding property owners to renew, to renovate, or to otherwise redevelop their properties, because most of those properties are what we call underutilized. Most of them are well over 100 years old. Most of them have property. Some of them have property in the back that is inaccessible, which could otherwise be for off-street parking if they were redeveloped. And obviously, we all know that new construction is the highest of assessment. Therefore, we would bring in far more tax ratables into the township. Now, that is the thinking. So, these new ratables would assist us in the repayment of the bonds to build the new school. That was always the plan. It's been the plan for almost, I would say, 15 years. Now, I realize that the mere mention of development causes a great deal of ire among the residents. And I completely understand that. Now, as of now, the township is seeking approval from the state to establish a development commission to decide upon what should be done with the Lincoln School property. Now, I have an idea that I'd like to put forth. And I'm not sure whether or not this idea is feasible. I have no idea. That would have to be established by this new commission. But for many years, Lyndhurst has wanted to build its own senior citizen housing. Senior housing that is restricted to only Lyndhurst seniors. You see, unlike the Carucci apartment building on Stuyvesant Avenue and other projects that may have been proposed over the years, the money to construct those projects comes from the county. As a result, Lyndhurst cannot restrict the units to only Lyndhurst residents. They have to be open to everyone throughout the county, because you're using county money. But Lyndhurst can form its own housing authority, build its own senior housing for its seniors. The difference is that Lyndhurst would need to pay for it. It would be paid for, obviously, through bonds, just as all large projects, roads, water lines, schools are all bonded. And again, can this be done? We have to see, but it's just an idea. We have to bring in the experts to crunch the numbers to see if this can work. But I do know that if it were able to work, if it were financially feasible, and again, it would be a project where you would not only have the senior housing, but on the ground floor you would have businesses, storefronts, commercial, so people could literally stay in their building, go downstairs to buy whatever it is they want to buy, keeping that small town feeling. But I do know that if this were the case, this is a project that would definitely have the support of our residents, while giving our local seniors the opportunity to sell their home and yet remain in town with their friends and the life they have grown to love. And part of this could also help satisfy some of our affordable housing by offering a number of units to lower and low-income seniors who may not have homes to sell. Either way, I very much hope that the commission being established will take this into consideration and explore the feasibility of whether or not we can do this. Establish a housing authority for Lyndhurst and construct senior housing on the Lincoln School property. We'll have to wait and see. I'm curious as to what you all think about that idea. Anyway, this was an awful lot to digest today, folks, and I hope this information was helpful in giving you a better understanding of zoning, affordable housing, and state laws. And if you have any questions, you can leave them to me in the comments section, and I will do my very best to answer them. If I don't know the answer myself, I can find out for you. In the meantime, please don't forget to send your club, school, organization, church, team, whatever news, birthdays, and anniversaries of note to Lyndhurst Community News. And let's see. So let's see now. In the meantime, don't forget, like I tell you every week, check those batteries on your smoke alarms and your CO2 detectors. They save lives. And also, again, I want to always remind you that a community is not its roads, houses, or buildings. A community is its people. So God bless you, and God bless our township. I will see you next week, or the special edition coming out soon on affordable housing, folks. Take care.